the Indiana Fever just pulled off their grittiest win of the season. But for a moment, it looked like the referees were going to rip it right out of their hands. Leading by a single point in the final seconds, Indiana had already survived a gauntlet of injuries, defensive breakdowns, and the Sparks' relentless pressure. But then came the whistles. Whistles that refused to stop. Whistles that gave Los Angeles life again and again when the game should have been over. By the end, fans weren't just celebrating, they were furious. Clark and Cydney Coulson called it out immediately, echoing what every Fever fan was thinking. What exactly did we just witness? And why did it feel like the refs were trying to extend this game at all costs? This wasn't just another close finish. This was chaos at its peak. This was officiating so inconsistent that fans and players alike wondered if something more was going on behind the scenes. And yet somehow, Indiana still walked away with the win that kept their playoff hopes alive. With Indiana clinging to a 76-75 lead, every tick of the clock mattered. The Sparks had the ball, desperate for one last chance. Normally, this is where the refs swallow their whistles and let the players decide the outcome. Not tonight. First, the shot clock reset strangely. Contact was called on one end but ignored on the other. Then, every time Indiana forced a stop, the refs seemed to find a way to extend the game. Even when Aaliyah Boston stole the ball out of the air with just seconds left, Los Angeles somehow got another inbound. And then came the moment that set the internet ablaze. With just 0.4 seconds left, Kelsey Mitchell went to the free throw line. She missed. The rebound bounced away, the game should have ended, and yet the officials somehow granted the Sparks another possession with 0.1 seconds left. Think about that. 0.1, less than the time it takes to blink. No team in the history of basketball can realistically run a play in that span. Yet Los Angeles was rewarded with another inbound. Fans online instantly cried foul, accusing the league of incompetence at best and something more sinister at worst. By this point, Fever players were visibly frustrated. Clark, sitting on the bench in street clothes, couldn't hold back. Her face said it all: confusion, anger, disbelief. Cydney Coulson, also sidelined, took it a step further after the game, pointing out how Kelsey Mitchell never seems to get the calls she deserves. Both stars knew what fans were already shouting. The officiating wasn't just bad, it felt rigged. And yet, despite the chaos, Indiana held strong. The Sparks fumbled their miracle chance. The buzzer finally sounded, and the Fever escaped with the ugliest, hardest-fought win of their season. What makes this victory even more remarkable is who Indiana didn't have. Clark was still out with her groin injury. Sophie Cunningham was unavailable. Cydney Coulson and Aari McDonald also sidelined. That's 4 guards, 4 playmakers gone. Add in Lexi Hull, who played through 2 blackened eyes after a brutal collision earlier in the week. And it looked like Indiana didn't stand a chance. The Sparks, meanwhile, had beaten Indiana every single time this season. 3 matchups, 3 losses. And with LA lurking just 2 games behind in the standings, this one felt like a must-win. On paper, it looked like Los Angeles finally had the perfect chance to bury Indiana's playoff hopes. But that's not what happened. Instead, Indiana leaned into toughness, grit, and a next-woman-up mentality that's become their identity this year. Players fought through bruises, fatigue, and adversity. They didn't win with flash, they won with resilience. The star of the night wasn't who anyone expected. Odyssey Sims, a 31-year-old veteran guard who once wore a Sparks jersey, became the hero Indiana desperately needed. She didn't just score, she controlled the game. 21 points total, including the last 5 that sealed the win. Every possession down the stretch seemed to find her hands, and she played them with poise. Drives through traffic, pull-up jumpers. A dagger floater with just 13.6 seconds left that silenced the arena. Think about the storylines. This was supposed to be a night where Los Angeles capitalized on Indiana's weakness. Instead, Sims, a former Spark, closed the door on them, proving that experience and composure still matter when the pressure peaks. After the game, her words summed it up best. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That wasn't just a quote. It was the very essence of Indiana's night. Of course, none of it would have been possible without Aaliyah Boston. Her stat line, 22 points, 11 rebounds, and a career-high 6 steals, only scratches the surface of her impact. She was everywhere, dominating the paint, setting up teammates with smart passes, snuffing out Sparks' possessions with blocks and steals. And when the referees seemed intent on dragging this game into madness, Boston made the defensive stop that mattered most. Ripping the ball away in the final seconds, then came her post-game words. which might be the biggest storyline of all. She praised the team's next woman up mentality, pointing out how every player trusted the next to step in and deliver. That wasn't just talk. It was the lived reality of a night where Lexi Hull fought through two black eyes, Odyssey Sims rose from the bench to close, and the Fever as a whole refused to fold. And yet, even in a game she didn't play, Caitlin Clark still managed to dominate the headlines. Her reaction to the officiating went viral within minutes. Clips of her shaking her head, throwing her hands up, and looking on in disbelief spread across social media faster than highlights of the actual game. That's the power she has. Her presence amplifies everything. And when she calls out poor officiating, it doesn't stay a local issue. It becomes a league-wide conversation. But beyond the controversy, there's another layer: hope. Clark has been spotted back on the court, participating in shoot-arounds and light drills. It's not a full return yet, but it's the closest she's looked to playing in weeks. For Fever fans, that's the real headline. If this team can grind out wins like this without her, what happens when she's back? This win did more than just pad Indiana's record. It locked them into 6th place for now, keeping Seattle at bay and pushing Los Angeles further behind. With only a handful of games left, every victory counts, and this one might be the most important yet. But it also revealed something deeper. Indiana isn't just surviving. They're learning how to thrive under pressure. They've built resilience, forged identity, and proven they won't back down no matter how ugly or controversial things get. And if Caitlin Clark returns before the postseason, suddenly this isn't just a scrappy playoff team. It's a dangerous one. A team with toughness forged in nights like this and the talent to shock anyone standing in their way. The Indiana Fever's win over the Sparks wasn't pretty. It wasn't smooth. It was chaos, controversy, and grit all rolled into one. But maybe that's exactly the kind of win they needed. Because in the end, despite everything stacked against them, injuries, officiating, momentum, the Fever didn't break. They stood tall. They fought back. And they walked out of Los Angeles with a victory that could define their season. So the question now isn't whether Indiana can survive. It's whether the rest of the WNBA is ready for what happens when Caitlin Clark rejoins this battle-tested group. What do you think of the WNBA refs? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. This is only the beginning.